That was interesting, wasn't it? Hey guys, Fred here. Welcome to the CC Network's pay-per-view results and review show, today focusing on the Elimination Chamber. Now, yes, the show produced a few surprises and a few solid matches, but where did it line up in my eyes? Let's go straight in and look at how the matches did. First off, we have the New Day defending their tag team titles for the first time ever in a tag team elimination chamber match. And yes, they did defend it with gusto and a third man. And you think, okay, this is a tag match with many people. It could turn into a massive clusterfuck. But it didn't, which I am incredibly proud of. You know what, I'm going to start with the move variety for a change, because it's quite good to say the least. We had a senton bomb through the Ascension by Sin Cara, a springboard uppercut to Kalisto on top of the pod, and a superplex from the top of the pod by Cesaro, a one-armed powerbomb by Sin Cara, a pod Hurricane Rana, Kalisto dropping from the top of the chamber onto the Ascension, and Cesaro was a little anticlimactic because he did take a lot of time to gain momentum and fall, but it was still kind of cool. We also had El Torito going up there and dropping on them as well before being beaten up. And okay, it was fantastic. Then we get a drop kick to a seated on the turnbuckle Darren Young, which was lovely, a powerbomb gut-wrench suplex combo, and a triple suplex on every member of the New Day at once. It was insane. These amount of moves, sure, it could have taken a couple more risks, maybe a giant swing from one end of the chamber to the other with a drop kick in midair, which would have been so dangerous but so satisfying, and a few other big high-risk diving moves would have been great, but I can't get everything, so I have to live with what I can get here. But what this match delivered in moves and big set pieces was great, exciting, and everything you want it to be. But then we get to the psychology, which usually I'd start with it, but not today. The New Day was all that this match focused on, of course. Would they have to use the third man and get the victory? And I have to admit, they did play a huge part in telling a massive story in this match. They stopped Kalisto from jumping off the top to do that senton, just like Sin Cara did, which made them be more of an advantage. Xavier Woods was locked into the pod after the New Day came into it, mostly because you're not supposed to be in this damn match. Let's just throw you in the pod and shut the door. It got a massive pop from the crowd. All's well and good. Not to mention, we also had Tyson Kidd pinning Kofi right at the same time as Darren Young pinned Cesaro, which means inevitably there's probably going to be some antagonism there, and it made the primetime players look very advantageous. And honestly, to put it this way, the primetime players looked very powerful, so did the Ascension, building themselves up because they hadn't really had much momentum going into the match. They showed a lot of strength, intensity, and honestly, they showed themselves as good, functioning, working tag teams. The one thing that this match is missing for me is a lot of body selling, because again, this is a chamber match. You want to sell all the damage and all the craziness around the ring. I felt they didn't really do that because none of them really focused on a body part and decided to wear it out. Although I have to admit, Tyson Kidd might have suffered a concussion after being rammed side of the head first in the middle of a submission move right against the chain wall. Looked a bit dangerous. But overall, the psychology was missing some things. It needed a little more to really push it anywhere. Now the crowd. The crowd was interesting. They were hot for the big spots, which I can get. They were also really hyped when Cesaro and Kidd came in. But once all the high flyers had gone, and we'd also lost Kidd and Cesaro, the crowd just kind of died. And I will admit, the primetime players did a very good job at building themselves up, so inevitably their loss to the New Day would seem tragic. I'll give them credit. But it wasn't consistent throughout the entire match. I inevitably found an issue with it, thinking, okay, the night has started off with a very fast-paced match, but we need to keep the crowd intrigued. And once the Los Matadors, El Torito, Lucha Dragons, and Cesaro and Kidd went, it kind of just didn't really matter to them because they knew, it's common assumption that the New Day's gonna win, and they did. Not to mention they all piled on top of poor Titus O'Neil, or was it Darren Young, to get the victory. It just seemed ridiculous. But then again, the crowd get what they get with that one. They knew it was coming and they reacted accordingly. The length and the pacing, to be honest, rather interesting. This match went over 23 minutes, which is an adequate time for an Elimination Chamber match, and overall it didn't slow down at all. which is incredible. Even with the Ascension attacking and attacking in their slow, methodical way, which started off a little slow, but then once everything piled in, it really hit its stride. The only thing I'm wishing is the Lucha Dragons had more time in that match. Sure, they got eliminated relatively late on in the middle of like 10-15 minutes, but I would have loved to have seen them do some more crazy stuff, because I thought they would last longer. I thought the Matadors would go out first, which is a bit surprising considering. Not to mention, I would have liked to have seen Cesaro and Kid actually reach the end, so it kind of ties off their storyline. They can go on forward, find new challenges, etc, etc, etc. But inevitably, the pace kept itself consistent, and by the time the match ended, it slowed down to, again, inevitability, where we thought, oh, they're going to go win, they're going to win, and it did. A 3.5 seems adequate, but I'm not entirely sure if I should give it that. It was quite decent considering the time, but it probably could have gone a bit 5 minutes longer and it would have been perfect. Now for my enjoyment. As you can see, I liked a lot of things in this match. It was fun, fast, exciting, just what you need to kick off a pay-per-view. It was missing some core elements that would have brought it up into major territory, but overall I was really happy with it. Really happy and excited to get this pay-per-view off to a strong start. So you know what? Tag Team Elimination Chamber? Bring it back in the future. I'd love to see what different kinds of things you could do with it. It's a 3.5-star match, and I am really happy to say that once again we've started off a show with a high rating match. Hooray! Now we have the Triple Threat Divas Championship match with Nikki Bella, Paige and Naomi, with Nikki Bella surprisingly getting the win. Yeah, it didn't surprise many people, but it surprised me. Now, looking at the psychology here, I have to admit, Nikki and Tamina being banned from ringside, what a great idea that was. Good thing they didn't come out there at all, I enjoyed that. Not to mention the fact that both Paige and Naomi, who I believe are the heels in all this, attacking Nikki throughout the match, making it look like she wouldn't win, inevitably building up for the win. I probably should have seen that coming, but inevitably I was so convinced that those two would win, I probably didn't factor it in at all. So that's all the psychology really comes to it, and not to mention the fact that Nikki was selling her head throughout after being kicked multiple times in the face. It was really nice to see. But I would have liked her to have sold the match more, because she got beaten up quite a bit in there. Meaning at the end, when she kind of prances away with Brie at her side, it didn't really feel like it was doing its job, which is a bit sad. Move variety is, again, same as the psychology, a 1.5 for one simple reason. There was a lot of botches here. The big spots were botched and then some. I mean, sure, we got a German suplex powerbomb combo, which was lovely. Lovely indeed. But you look at the two big ones. You had a botched kick to the face by Paige springboarding off the top, which would have been incredible if Paige had not missed her timing on it. I'm not sure if it was actually a botch, because the referees and commentators kind of covered it up a little bit. But then you look at the electric chair reverse Rana. It could have looked deadly, but I can see why it was botched a little, and it looks really sloppy just to protect Paige's head, because she could have been quite badly injured. So I can understand why they did it, but at the same time, I'm just looking at it thinking they could have done a lot better. But overall, the big moves were there, but inevitably it didn't work out, which is really sad. They could have made this match quite high if those botches did not happen. Crowd reaction was a 1.5, mostly because of Paige. She was over, and it made me kind of think, wow, is she actually going to win this? She has had good physical offense, would she do it? But the crowd really didn't seem to react at all when Nikki got any offense, and Naomi and Paige got a decent amount of reception. In fact, the whole match had consistent crowd noise. It didn't really go anywhere, but it's good to see that this match, a Divas match, got consistent crowd noise. I think after the Becky Lynch-Sasha Banks match at NXT Unstoppable, they probably thought, you know what, we should be more interested in the Divas matches now. They're on pay-per-view, we should give them a chance. And they did, which I'm actually very happy with. Match length and pacing, I give it a 2. It was a fast-paced, intense match, which is great from the women's perspective, because that's how I like it. However, the match only went 6 minutes. Didn't feel like it went so. It went a lot slower than that, which means, by my understanding, it didn't go as fast as it should have done in the latter stages. I will admit, it could have been executed better with more time, given, say, 2 or 3 more minutes. It would have been able to make the ending not look like it was rushed and came out of the blue, but I'll give it some credit where it's due. This match kept me on my toes, which explains why my enjoyment is at a 2, because it was a Divas match that was surprisingly entertaining, fast-flowing, and it made me think, wow, these women are doing a good job. If it wasn't for the botches, I would be much more praising of it, because it was definitely more entertaining than the Divas tag match at WrestleMania. And honestly, I'm looking at this saying to myself, I enjoyed this, but I really should have enjoyed it more. If everything was executed better, we could have gotten a better match out of it, but when I look at it, it just wasn't that special. It tried to be, which I can give it a lot of credit for, but they didn't do it all. So yeah, I'm going to give this match a 1.5 star. It could have been 2 star if those spots had landed, but no, sadly, you missed out big time. Now, time for the match of the night, no question. Kevin Owens defeating John Cena clean. You heard me. Kevin Owens beat John Cena clean. No help, no interference, no nothing. Can you... Even a day later, I still cannot believe we've just seen that live on pay-per-view. And that's why this match is so incredible. Not just that, but the fact it got a very good amount of time to do it. You know what? The psychology. Let's get on with it. 4 out of 5. Owens' physical offense set the pace early on, wearing Cena down. He was trash talking all the time, saying that his time is now, your time is up, just give up. Taunting him with his own "you can't see me," which was fantastic. And as the match wore on, these guys were showing the physical wear and tear. They looked exhausted, they looked pressured, and you know what? Even after having all this thrown at him, Cena, for the first time in a long time, showed frustration by beating the mat. He was irritated that he couldn't put this man down, which is incredible, knowing what we've seen from John Cena in the past. And as I've already said, Owens winning is perfect for the story, knowing what these two are going to do going ahead in the future. And sure, I would have liked more body selling from Cena, and also the fact that I wish I didn't hear him calling some spots in the match, which really wasn't pleasant. But then again, all it needed was some blood and some more arm and legs and back selling, and the fact that the pace wasn't so fast it could have done that. I would have been really, really happy to give this a 5 without a question of a doubt on that one. But I look at this and just say, this is how a simple story is told. Psychologically, through not much body selling, but just taunting, throwing everything around, showing physical exhaustion. That is a good way of telling a simple story in this ring, and they did it. I cannot mistake how good that is. I just would have liked some body selling, that's all. Then we get to the move variety. My God, there were some big moves in here. I mean, first off, the switch around moonsault. I mean, sure, it missed, but God, that was incredible. I mean, they were just saying, oh, we hardly ever see Kevin Owens go off the top rope. He then realizes Cena's getting up, flips around, and does a bloody moonsault. It's... great way to take the referees and the commentators in the wrong way, especially knowing that Vince McMahon didn't want him to do those kinds of moves. Well, that shows big guys can flip, from the Vader school of flipping right there. Then you get the package side slam. When you put him in that perspective, I thought, oh God, he's going to go for it. He's going to go for it. He's going to hit the package pile driver. Nope, just a package side slam, but I don't care. It was still pretty damn cool. Not to mention that springboard stunner from Cena, which I never get sick of seeing, because it's awesome. Then we have, I believe, was a modified Emerald Flosion from the top rope, which I really thought was the end of the match. Why wasn't it? I have no idea, because there's no way you should be kicking out of that. Then he hit a swanton. And I had to question myself every single time. These big moves accumulated a huge amount of points. There may not have been as many as the Elimination Chamber match, but my God, they made me mark out and take notice. Because I was saying to myself, what move is going to end this match? What move? What move? And I believe out of that swanton, he got put in the STF as well, which is kind of cool. But it just made me think, wow, any move could come out of these two, and it was fantastic. I can't go wrong with that, guys. It was brilliant. But it needed a massive, massive spot with a lot of build-up to really make it go anywhere. Or maybe I would have even liked a table spot or some stuff outside the ring to really compound the aggressiveness. But again, I'm asking for too much. Crowd reaction, a 4. Now, there may be some of you who'd say, hey, Fred, this match was incredible. The crowd was really into it. They were to begin with. They were into everything, I would say, but it wasn't consistent. You know, it was very mediated, quiet, because the fans were a bit agitated. They weren't entirely sure what they were going to get in this match. And they were on the edge of their seats wondering, okay, we don't want to see Owens lose, but we want Cena to put up a good fight, so what's going to happen here? And they realised over time, well, this is actually going a lot longer than we expected to. And then, once that moonsault attempt came in, they were on everything like it's nobody's business. They were all over it, chanting, cheering, chanting, "This is awesome," every single time something happened with a kick out, and it was interesting. If they were consistent throughout the entire match from start to finish, I then would have been happy to give them a 5, but sorry, it just wasn't enough. In fact, I think I actually have given them a 4.5. Yes, I have. If it was for the whole match, I would be happy. A 4.5, not a 4, sorry. Got that wrong, but you can see where I'm going from here. Match length and pacing, a 4.5. Now, this match, I've said, went 19 minutes. It was long, it was physical, Owens' methodical pace, in spite of which the match kept its quick pace very easily. And that's the one thing about Cena matches you can always count on, is that their pace is very fast. It always relies on Cena getting up and doing moves very fast, which is what you can understand. And even with that, Owens really was able to still do a power-heavy offensive style without bogging the match down. The momentum shifts from one to the other were smooth and consistent, with multiple near falls out of everything, giving drama and also prolonging the match even further while amping the drama up and then some. Would I have liked this to go 25 plus minutes? Yes, in any dream situation, yes. But inevitably, it would have made the match become bogged down and would probably have ended with some Deus Ex Machina finish to screw it. The fact we got a clean victory at the end of all of the drama was fantastic. Then you look at my rating for my enjoyment. It's a 5 for a reason. I have not felt so invested in a match like this in so long. So long. And it was fantastic. Fantastic. And to put it bluntly, it's one of the matches of the year on pay-per-view. No question. Does it beat Lesnar, Cena, Rollins from Royal Rumble? No. Only just. Only just. If you look back at my... Actually, I didn't make a Royal Rumble review, but my ratings seem to point in the direction that that match only was better because of consistent crowd noise and its pacing being a little bit better. That was it. The rest of it could be almost on par with it, which is great. Which is why, ladies and gentlemen, I'm giving Owens versus Cena 1, because I got a rematch coming up at Money in the Bank in 2 weeks, a 4.5 star. I was thoroughly entertained, on the edge of my seat, and marking out like crazy when the result happened. You know what? I cannot wait to see a rematch and how they execute it this time. They've got a lot to live up to. Next up, we have Neville defeating Bo Dallas. And honestly, I can understand where some ideas of this match are going to come from. It had to follow Owens Cena, so I can understand it may not have lived up to everybody's expectations, but come on, it didn't suck that bad according to some of you out there. Although it wasn't as good as I would have expected it to be. The psychology was a 1.5 simply because Dallas trying to speak to Neville and then getting his head kicked in showed the animosity, while also highlighting that Dallas's character really doesn't give a damn. He's also noted that King highlighted that he just pretends to be nice, which kind of came across in Dallas's physical action, that he pretends to have a smile on his face, being nice and happy, and then beating the ever-loving crap out of people because they just don't seem to see positivity in the right way. And that's all the character that Dallas is, and the fact that they were highlighting this, stating that he just really hates Neville, wants to end him, and that he almost did, was a great thing. The problem I have with this is at the start of the match, Cole highlighted that Neville has been rehabbing the knee, meaning we weren't going to see a lot of targeting of it and a lot of selling from it, which we have seen in the build-up, and it really disappointed me. All I needed was a massive load of kicks to that knee, isolating him, having him fall off the top rope trying to do the red arrow, try and give me a reason to feel sympathetic for the character, so when you actually fight back and win, it becomes something useful. But no, they didn't even go down that direction. They didn't even try to get the crowd interested in Neville or Dallas here, which really disappointed me. I wanted to see that leg targeted, and the fact I didn't for most of the match was infuriating. Move variety was a 1. They didn't really have anything new here. Nothing random came out of it. It was just them being them, I guess. Crowd reaction. I've already said that the crowd were rubbish, and it says that. They were completely dead for this match, and okay, they came alive for the red arrow after building up towards it, which is great for Neville, knowing that his move can do it, but I was expecting a lot more. Now for the pacing. This is interesting. I think this match went about 10, 12 minutes roughly. It was a little too long. They could have ended it much sooner, which probably explains why the crowd were probably a bit dead. But you look at the pacing and wonder to yourself, it wasn't too fast, it wasn't too slow, it was adequately paced. Adequately paced, I would say. It went from fast to slow, mediating out throughout. Although I have to admit the momentum shifts were a little bit ridiculous. Having Dallas in control for so long and not end up winning, sorry, man, that's just not good enough for me. And honestly, I liked the time this match got, but still, if they had more substance in Dallas's moveset, it could have been much more exciting. Just saying. Now, I look at my enjoyment and say, I liked this. I liked what they were doing. I didn't want to completely lose attention because I know what these two can do. But I said to myself, they're holding back. They really are holding back here. It wasn't what I was expecting. And inevitably, it made me slightly upset thinking, okay, we just followed that with this. I would have rather have had this go on after the tag team chamber to keep the consistency going and having the Divas after Owens versus Cena just to make it better. But inevitably, that was a booking mistake on WWE's part. But when I look at this, I just say to myself, it was alright. It was a bit meh, was a bit flat for what it was, but I have to give it a rating, a 1 star. I'm being a little generous because there wasn't too much on offer in this match, but I'm hoping they can improve going down the road with more matches to show what this feud is truly made of. Now for the Intercontinental Championship Elimination Chamber match, won by Ryback for his first ever championship. Well done, Ryback. But the less time I spend talking about this match, the better, because you can all agree with me that it absolutely sucked. I have never been bored by an Elimination Chamber match as much as this one. You know why? Because there was no intensity to it, the crowd was completely dead, still stemming from the Owens-Cena match, and nothing happened. And also, not to mention the potential for bringing in someone like Bray Wyatt to spice up things. No, they brought out Mark Henry to replace Rusev. It didn't really make any sense, he didn't add anything, and inevitably it didn't do much at all. This match was slow, anticlimactic, and had nothing of worth to it. In fact, all I could bring out, which explains the psychology marker at the top being 1.5 instead of a 1, was the fact that, oh yeah, King Barrett berated Sheamus, berated Ryback, he berated every big guy in there, and the minute Mark Henry was let out of a pod through accident or breaking, he came out and beat the crap out of Barrett for his troubles, which I liked. But that was the only thing alongside a white noise to the outside, which I loved. The rest of it, I was sitting there just wondering, what the hell are they doing? This match is failing. They're not even bothering. Not to mention you had King Barrett being eliminated by R-Truth early on, which is the worst thing to happen to a king since Scar threw Mufasa into the gorge. I mean, overall, this match had nothing to offer, and while I am very happy that Ryback won because I predicted it, and I get to see what he's like with a title now, which would be great for his feud with Sheamus, this match was a waste of my time, and it's a 0 complete. It's not the worst match I've seen on pay-per-view this year, but it is so close, it's scary. God, let's just move on. And finally we reach the main event, where Dean Ambrose won the World Championship, only to have it removed via disqualification, which I knew the moment. The moment that decision happened, I knew the crowd would be pissed. Didn't expect him to carry the belt off with him though, which should make Raw tonight a very interesting concept. Anyway, let's go on with this. First off, the psychology. We got Reigns banned from interfering or Ambrose would get disqualified. I wonder what's going to happen here then. Of course, Reigns didn't come out, which added to the story, saying, yep, he's got to fight for himself against all the odds, the sympathetic babyface trope, but this is Ambrose. He's not really a typical babyface, so it kind of worked out. J&J interfering, changing the course of the match's momentum happened frequently. Ref stopping Seth from winning the match because his feet were on the ropes. The berating of each other was so physical and intense, and you just wondered to yourself throughout this match, these two are socking it to each other. They don't really care. Don't care at all about what's happening. They're just going to beat the ever-loving crap out of each other, and it will be fine. However, in my honest opinion, These two work best when there are lots of weapons and lots of spots involved. I'm sorry to say it, but I felt this match fell a little flat because the inevitability of Rollins winning was kind of on the horizon, and even with that surprise, with Ambrose taking out all the lackeys after Rollins saying that he isn't championship material, to the ref bump, which was great in telling the story of the ending of the match, I felt that it needed something more intense to make Ambrose not look sympathetic but hardened, ready to go full out and attack him, although his rebounds from everything he did was pretty damn impressive nonetheless. Move variety gets a 2 with some interesting things here, including a top rope stomp to the Tree of Woe by Rollins, a wheelbarrow facebuster by Ambrose, another one of my favourite moves, a powerbomb into the barricade by Rollins, which never ceases to amaze me how flat it looks. To be honest with you, it could look a lot harder for selling purposes, but nope. And, of course, rebounding from a powerbomb to the corner into a clothesline, which is just a brilliant difference on the normal rebound clothesline that Ambrose does. Can't go wrong with that. Then we get to the crowd, which I have to admit we're only starting to recover from the Owens-Cena match, which kind of proves having 6 matches on the card of this ain't a good idea. But you listen to the crowd over the course of the match. They kind of start off medium fever pitch, just starting to realise, okay, this is a main event, we've got to perk up now. And then they go in, thinking, Rollins is going to win. You know, Ambrose may be able to fight all he wants, but we know what's going to happen. Someone's going to screw him. But once they realise Ambrose is fighting quite hard here, he's getting into the match, and they then start to think, wait a minute, no one's really helping him properly here. The referee is noticing things. We really think he can win this? Can he win this? And then when he wins, the roof blows off the place. And then, of course, the chants of bullshit ring out. And the fact is, their belief in Ambrose made the match better. It made the crowd's importance rise, and it was so fun to notice it gradually over time, where the match was a bit boring because they weren't into it. Then at the end, it made me realise, oh god, I'm sitting on the edge of my seat here because they've finally woken the hell up, which is great. The only thing is, it built the story, but it really made the match feel a lot worse than it was, which then makes me go into the match length and pacing. This match went a good 25 minutes, but it took a while. It was very quick off the bat, which is great, but then it took so long to pick up and get back into itself again. It was slow, methodical by Rollins, which for me, doesn't work, but he's a heel, so he's got to do it. And inevitably, it just didn't feel right. You know, it gradually got faster, with more intensity and many near falls, but by the time these started happening, it was way too late for me. I was thinking they could have done this a little earlier and set up for something big. You know what I mean? It just didn't feel like it was doing all it could. But then again, these two have fought before, so what more can you do? You know, it's a bit strange. So I look at the match and say to myself, it could have been executed better for me. Then again, they're probably going to have a rematch at Money in the Bank, which would be great. I'm hoping it's a weapon variant, or even, I would dare say, a ladder match, just to make it exciting and intense. In this case, though, yeah, people are saying it was a great match. You have your right to your opinion, but for me, it was not what I was expecting. It could have been much, much better. A 2.25 star here. Sorry everybody, I just didn't enjoy this as much as you did. And now on to my final analysis. This pay-per-view going in I thought would be great, mostly because these matches could all steal the show, be fantastic, if given the time and the pacing that they needed. However, you look at this card and think to yourself, Owens versus Cena ruined it. Now, do not get me wrong, the match was brilliant, but you look at what Tommy Dreamer said, that match should have ended the show, and I agree, I said in my predictions, I would have hoped it would have ended the show, because then everybody would have gone home happy. That would have been great, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? But then I look at the rest of this card and say, the tag team chamber match was great, but that's it. You see, everything else was below halfway, and even one of the matches, which is the marquee on the card, was an absolute stinker. You think about it and say, one or two good matches don't necessarily make the entire card worth it. And I look at the rest of the matches and say, you know what, they were all right, but they could have been much better than what we were expecting. And for me, personally, it just wasn't good enough. I mean, it was enough to make me say, you know what, for $9.99 on the network, it was great. I got my money's worth with 2 of the matches out of the 6, but that shouldn't say a lot. I should be saying half the matches should get over 2.5 stars, and I'd be the happiest person in the world. But that isn't. There were some good matches here, but more of them were bad, which does mean, by definition, I have to go with a somewhat low rating for this, which some of you may criticize for, but I looked at these matches and thought the show started off great, but then once Owen Cena happened, the entire show kind of died, which is not positive in the slightest. You know what? I'm going to be kind to this pay-per-view because it did entertain me, it did make me feel happy, there were some botches there, and the commentators were annoying as hell, but it was entertaining for the most part. For the most part, we can ignore the Elimination Chamber match for the IC title in spite of the winner. And we can say to ourselves, it was entertaining to a degree, but nothing more than that. If you have to go and watch this show again, check out Owen Cena without a doubt. The Tag Chamber is also worth your time, but the rest of it, I would take it with a pinch of salt. There are some good things to enjoy, but that crowd, man, they just stunk up the place. And guys, I'm going to give this card, Elimination Chamber 2015, a respectable but somewhat underwhelming 4.5 out of 10. It could have been a lot better, but I'm hoping it will be better for Money in the Bank in 2 weeks' time, because if I'm not mistaken, every pay-per-view bar Mania has finished below a 5 out of 10. So yeah, WWE, improve. Keep going. You're gradually getting a little better each pay-per-view. Just remember, you're not going to get as good as WrestleMania all the time, but just make Money in the Bank go above 5 out of 10, and I'll be the happiest person in the world, like I always am when a pay-per-view manages to do that. Just keep going, keep improving. You've got 2 weeks of build for this. Just keep with the good stuff. And hopefully the crowd will improve going forward. Well guys, that's my review done. What are your thoughts on Elimination Chamber? Put your views down there in the comment section. I'll be happy to read them and reply. And if you like what you've heard here from the CCC Network, go subscribe, like, and share. I have much more content alongside wrestling if you're interested. And you know what? I should be able to get more frequent wrestling content out in the next few weeks, especially knowing that Money in the Bank is back. Should be quite easy to get a review done in about 2 weeks' time, so look out for that. Guys, I have been Freddie Thomas, you've been people listening. This has been the Elimination Chamber review show for the CC Network, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers!